Jake Paul just dropped his latest podcast, and it's safe to say that he is completely and utterly delusional. It's now been a few days since the Mike Tyson and Jake Paul fight, and it's the talk of the town. Everyone is extremely disappointed in how it turned out. Mike Tyson looked like a 58-year-old in there. Jake Paul couldn't get the job done against that 58-year-old. A lot of people are saying that the fight was rigged. There's a little bit of evidence coming out, maybe potentially supporting that theory, but nothing really concrete or solid. And I would like to say that I was saying on the entirety of this build-up that this would be a boring fight, and it turned out to be exactly that. I wish I would have put some money down, to be honest. But yeah, anyway, we're going to take a look at Jake Paul's latest podcast because he says some really questionable things. First off, here we have Jake talking about the numbers that the fight did.
The numbers will be released on Tuesday, but let's just say it's 6 times larger than what I thought the number was going to be in terms of viewership.
And what did you think it was going to be?
Well, I can't say because the numbers are coming out on Tuesday and they might be bigger than what I'm going to say. So we don't want people to run with it.
Just imagine Netflix crashing.
But let's just say, let's just say it could be, it's probably bigger than the Super Bowl.
So Jake said the numbers are getting released tomorrow and that it was bigger than the Super Bowl. Now, the Super Bowl in 2024 was watched by 123.4 million people. So Jake claiming that this fight was bigger than that, viewership-wise, is pretty insane. Now, if you do the math, it could be plausible. Netflix has got 282.7 million users. So it could be possible, but there are loads of people out there who don't really watch boxing, who aren't into sports in general. Hence why I think that that number has got to be somewhat inflated, because you're basically saying that almost 50% of the entire Netflix user base watched that fight. Although, to make the counter argument, play devil's advocate, it could be possible because Netflix did have the fight as the home screen as soon as you logged into Netflix. So maybe so. Next, Jake talks about the reason why he didn't KO Mike Tyson.
A phenomenal night. I'm sorry I didn't knock him out, though, guys.
Shut the fuck up. It was crazy when we talked about this. I told him you were going to say some dumb shit. You did the right thing at the end. You bowed. You kept it classy. He was wobbled. You did your thing. You didn't get greedy.
Yeah, after I seen him a little bit tired, I didn't want to put too much hurt on him, but I wanted the fans to get a good experience. But there was a point where all of my aggression and like super violence and like I'm gonna knock this guy out and show him, it went away when I wasn't getting hit much at all. And I don't know, I just
punches wasn't doing it.
I love Mike.
So Jake said he didn't want to put too much hate on him. The aggression went away when he wasn't getting hit himself. Now, I do somewhat actually believe this. I believe that Jake Paul went out there with the intention to KO Mike Tyson, but then he actually took a bit of pity on him. After that second round, Mike Tyson did look quite bad. He looked old. And once again, this is no hate on Mike. I love Mike. And being 58 years old with health problems is not your fault. He was injured himself as well coming into this fight, but still, he didn't look good after that second round, and I think Jake took a bit of pity on him. However, I also think some of it was because Jake didn't want to get cracked, and Mike Tyson was fairly hard to hit. Jake said it himself, he was slippery. That lateral movement that Mike Tyson has got is really good. Now, this next part is where some of the delusion kicks in. Jake talks about the reason why he wasn't that nervous going into this fight.
I'm just getting so used to these moments, and honestly, fighting in a stadium, there was less it's less personal.
Yes.
So, and it's less loud. So it was actually like way less nerve-wracking.
It was very half and half.
I felt
tonight.
so far from the people and the energy and all that. So arenas are harder to fight in. And
so Jake said he prefers fighting in a stadium because it's less loud. But it wasn't because you was further away from the crowd. It was because the crowd was dead. No one was cheering for you. There was zero atmosphere when Jake was coming out. So and when he was coming to the ring, he was in like a pimped up Cadillac and it was going about half a mile an hour and the stadium was dead. No one was cheering for him. Even all Jake Paul's fans who were videoing Jake leaning over the rails weren't even cheering. They were all silent, just on the phones. That's what this generation's like these days. They all want to capture that they were there for the fight to show everyone on Instagram that they were there, rather than actually just being present. But yet, the crowd was dead. There was no atmosphere. When Mike Tyson walked out, there was loads of atmosphere. Everyone was screaming. Everyone was roaring. Jake, people just didn't want you to win. You didn't really have a good, solid fan base at this event. The fan base that you do have, they're a bit younger, and they're not really boxing fans. They don't really care. They're all doing it for Instagram. Next, Jake talks about his game plan, getting slapped by Mike Tyson, and how Mike Tyson's punches felt in the fight. Right, insert 3 minutes 14 to 3 minutes 50 for the game plan. 3 minutes 50 to 5:05 for the slap, and didn't get hurt from Tyson's punches.
What was the game plan going into it?
The first 3 rounds to go slow, let him sort of tire himself out, jab, move, staying on the outside, drop in some shots when I could, but to let him get tired so that he wasn't as dangerous. And that's sort of exactly what I did. And basically by the 3rd round, you know, I was in control of the fight because he was frustrated. He was hard to hit. Like the slipperiness of those, I don't know how he can bend over that far.
What about from yesterday, the clip we've all seen of you getting slapped in the weigh-ins?
Yeah, I told him in the end post-fight speech that it was a good slap. It was a really good slap.
Did you feel it? Did it hurt you?
No. People were saying like, oh, you wobbled or all this stuff, but I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, I didn't feel fucking anything. And same with his punches. I think he landed like some half punches, but full punches, he only landed like 2, and I don't know, my chin is really, really good. It's kind of scary.
So I will give Jake Paul some props. It was a solid game plan. I think that's the best thing you can do when going up against someone like Mike Tyson. Take your time, be patient in those first few rounds. Once again, I want to give myself a pat on the back because I felt like I was one of the only ones on YouTube who was going to say that that was going to be the case. But yeah, Jake has got an improved fight IQ. We did talk about that in the last video we did. He's got a good solid team behind him, so we know that his IQ is getting better. The game plan is going to be there. He also said that he didn't get hurt from Tyson's punches. Well, I'm not surprised really. Did you see how Mike Tyson was moving in there? He didn't have his legs underneath him, and when you're punching, all of the power comes from your legs. Mike Tyson used to have very thick and very strong legs, and because he'd stay so low and then he'd come with the uppercuts and the left hooks, that's where all the power comes from. Also, I heard that Mike Tyson wasn't allowed to throw uppercuts in this fight. Next, Jake Paul talks about his secret injury.
Yeah, I definitely felt the fact that my ankle was...
Oh, we could talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
You was trying to keep me away from talking about it.
Basically, I sprained my ankle, tore the ligament, bruised everything, tore the other side of it.
How long ago was this?
This was 22 days ago, and couldn't walk, was on crutches, throbbing pain, baseball, swollen ankle. Mentally, to have to push through that was the hardest part, but did everything I could. Was on crutches for like 4 days. It was pretty low morale. Like I was like, damn, this is the baddest man on the planet, but I just have to trust that God doesn't make mistakes and there's a silver lining in this. And missed about 2 weeks of sparring. Couldn't really do much and really only sparred this past 7 days. I was good enough to go in there, but I definitely felt that my cardio was affected by basically 2 weeks of training. But I think I healed my ankle sprain faster than any human has ever.
So he said he had an ankle injury, and taking it at face value, that is going to affect your training camp a lot because once again, as we just said, all the power comes from the bottom. You're unable to stabilize through your ankle and put weight through it, then you're going to have no power in your punches and it's going to drastically affect your footwork. So I mean, fair play to Jake for fighting through that injury. Now this next clip, bless her, Jake Paul's mum says something a little bit funny. She's also delusional, but we'll let her get away with it because it's his mum.
I think you're the toughest man on the planet.
Thank you, Mom. Yeah. No one gives me credit.
I do.
Mike Perry was the king of violence, and now I'm the king of violence.
Yeah.
And technically I'm the baddest man on the planet now too.
I agree.
Yep, you heard that correct. Jake Paul's mum, absolutely completely delusional. She thinks her son is the toughest man on the planet for defeating a 58-year-old past his prime, injured, mushroomed up on the weed, can barely even speak, got his ass out on Netflix, Mike Tyson. Mama Paul, you've got no clue what you're on about. However, I'm only joking. I'll let you off. It's his mum. Fair play. Stick to making cookies and crumpets, girl. Now, in this next clip, Jake briefly compares the Mike Tyson fight to the Tommy Fury fight, and I find his assessment fairly interesting.
Who is the most power you've ever felt in a fight?
I would say Tommy Fury.
Okay.
Because it's the shots you don't see. So Tommy was a little tricky. And what I mean by that is, like, if you see the punch coming, you could prepare for it. So, like, if you're going into something and you can't see it and then all of a sudden you get hit, that's when it hurts. So Tommy was more tricky with that, but Mike's punches I could see coming. He was strong, but he didn't land anything clean. So I honestly didn't feel Mike Tyson's full power, but that's good. I mean, you don't want to. So I was just moving, staying elusive, and the only thing he was kind of landing was that hook, but I just kept my hand up.
So Jake said Tommy Fury was a harder fight. Of course it was a harder fight, because it was someone your size, age, and experience level for once. So what Jake is actively admitting there is that when the stats and the attributes match up to himself, it's a harder fight for him. Completely delusional. Now, I won't include this next bit because it's a little bit long and it's not really necessary for the video, but fair play to Jake because he explains how he's now adding a belt system, kind of like karate, into boxing gyms all over America, and he wants to give kids a journey to grow through within boxing. So you get your white bands, you get your yellow bands, your green, your purple, your brown, your black. And he said he wanted this fight with Mike Tyson to birth the next Mike Tyson. And he's seen all this through an ayahuasca vision, which, whatever, fair play to him. He's now in touch with God as well. He's a bit more religious, and I can respect that. If you want to see him talk about that, then go and watch his podcast on his channel. But the next part, Jake talks about his next potential opponent. Let's see what he says.
Who the fuck is next?
I mean, genuinely, like, everyone's biggest critique is, like, fight a pro, fight this person, fight someone your age, So when I say Canelo is the person, then everyone hates on that. But I'm like, all right, sheep, what do you want? Do you want me to fight someone? Like, people just want to see me lose. So wouldn't the best opportunity to see me lose be going up against Canelo?
Absolutely.
People will never be satisfied with my career until I get fucking flatlined. Then they're going to be happy. So what better way to make that happen, or to go up against the biggest challenge in this sport, one of the best to ever do it, a legend, pound for pound great, if not the best in the sport, then Canelo. What excuse does the audience have? Does Canelo have when that happens? Yeah, it's fucking gonna be an insane fight. Yeah, it's gonna be hard as fuck. Yeah, I might get my ass beaten flatlined, but
no, you won't.
Let's fucking find out.
Well, so that's the question.
Let's find out.
Does tonight's Jake beat Canelo?
Not tonight's Jake.
No, not tonight's Jake. No way.
But also, I sprained my fucking ankle in half.
It's something before every fight.
Yeah, it's always something.
And I'm not a heavyweight, is what I learned tonight.
Now, Jake is absolutely delusional here. He says he'll fight Canelo because no one will have anything to say then. But people will still have something to say, because once again, he's choosing someone who is multiple weight classes below him. And don't get me wrong, Canelo would smash Jake Paul everywhere. But once again, Jake is still yet to fight someone his own weight, his own size, his own age, who's a pro boxer. Apart from Tommy Fury, the actual fight that he lost. Canelo is 5'7" and fights in the 160s, and he's not exactly a big 160er either. He's not super shredded at 160 odd pounds. Canelo can probably fight in the 150s. Jake is 6 foot, 6'1", and has just fought at 224 pounds. Okay, he usually fights around 185, 190, 195 pounds, but still that's a big size difference. So once again, the Paul brothers are picking on fighters who are much smaller than them in order to claim whatever advantage they can get. And think about it this way, Canelo fought Dimitri Bivol at 174 pounds, and Canelo was significantly the smaller man in that fight. And Bivol's not exactly big. He's big compared to Canelo, but he's not like a big man. So even if Canelo gained weight and came up to 174 pounds again, what weight is Jake going to agree to fight Canelo at? 174 pounds? I think so. Jake needs to get down to 174 pounds. But knowing Jake Paul, he'll probably force Canelo to come up to 180, 190 pounds to try and get as much of an advantage as possible. Jake needs to come down to 170-ish, in my opinion, and actually do a full proper weight cut, because he's never actually been fully lean, fully stripped down and fully dehydrated before. So if you want to go up against a smaller man in Canelo, who's got 60 odd fights and who would smash it anywhere anyway, let's just keep the playing fields even. you have to do a weight cut. You have to do a full weight cut and get down to 170 pounds. And he could do it as well. He 100% could do it. And it wouldn't even kill him either. Jake Paul's fought at 180, 185 with quite a bit of fat still on his frame and without a dehydration water cut. And all that isn't even talking about the fact that you don't deserve a Canelo fight. You're saying that you should have the Canelo fight because what would people say then? No one would have anything to argue against. So why are you opposed to me having a Canelo fight? Don't you want to see me get beaten up? And it's like, yeah, we all want to see you get beaten up. We want to see you go against Canelo and get battered, but you don't deserve it. If you want the Canelo fight, then you have to go through the proper channels to do so. There is a part of me that thinks, yeah, do you know what, Canelo? Accept the fight and batter him. But then there's the other part of me that thinks, but what has Jake done? He doesn't deserve it. But you never know. Canelo might entertain the idea if there's a $50-60 million payoff, and he can then be the one to prove Jake Paul wrong. But I don't think it's a good move for Canelo because I don't think he would knock Jake Paul out straight away. I mean, he might not even do so, depending on the weight. Look at Floyd Mayweather versus Logan Paul. When you've got that much of a weight difference, no matter how much of a professional, seasoned boxer you are, when you're fighting a much bigger opponent, that power doesn't translate through. I believe that Canelo would be able to connect very clean on Jake Paul, but it might not actually drop him because of the size difference. So therefore, if the fight goes long, Jake Paul gets a moral victory, even if he loses, because it's like, oh yeah, well, I went 10 rounds with Canelo. I went 6 rounds with Canelo, the best in the world, and he'll be able to spin the narrative in that direction. So he doesn't deserve the Canelo fight. If you want it, earn it. Fight Tommy Fury. That's what I think. What do you guys think of Jake's delusion here? Comment below all your thoughts. Do you agree with him on certain points? Do you disagree with him? Let me know. Appreciate all the support over the weekend. It was a really big weekend for the channel. We've got loads of new subscribers. If you want a free training program, check out the first link in the description. When you download that free 12-week training program, I send you 30 daily email tips on how to optimize your training and nutrition so you can make as much progress in the gym as possible. I've been a coach for 14 years and I've coached hundreds of people, so I know a thing or two about fitness. Okay guys, nice one. Like this video. See you tomorrow.